Sunseri Law Firm.
Hey, we're back. All things legal, Doug Sunseri, Albert Nico, your weekend lawyers. Give us a call at 260-1870 or text us at 870-870. We're here every Sunday from 8 to 10. And we got Albert Nico this morning.
I got Doug Sunseri this morning, too.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Beautiful morning.
It is a beautiful morning. It looks like a nasty accident right at City Park and I-10. So if you were in that, it's a fatality. So if you're in that area, you might want to avoid it.
If you're going west.
Well, both ways, because I think they blocked it off the other direction. That's why it was so easy for us to get on it, Metairie Road.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it looks like they blocked it off in both directions. So I would be...
Airline Highway, Uptown,
any other way you can get uptown.
Esplanade.
Downtown, Mid-City. Right.
Canal.
And that was your traffic report.
Well, I think we ought to stick with our day job, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of day jobs, Peyton Manning will be looking for one, it seems. Looks like he's announced. Will be announcing his retirement on Monday.
That's no surprise.
Obviously leaked it to ESPN, so it's all over the news and ESPN. Greatest quarterback of all time. Who was it, in your estimation? Who is it, or what?
Who is it? I'd have to say Peyton.
I don't know.
What do you think?
I think it's Tom Brady.
Well, I guess.
I think it's
probably.
I think it's
probably
Tom Brady.
so.
He's got more Super Bowls. I think he's won with lesser talent. You know, if you look at it, I think Manning has pretty much always had good defenses, which put the ball in your hands a lot more. He's older, he's played longer, so he's going to have more numbers, more records, more touchdowns. I mean, look, he's probably second, I think.
You see, this is the kind of discussion you'll have on ESPN at 10 in the morning with Skip Bayless and Stephen Smith.
Yeah.
So 1 and 2. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people like to say Joe Montana. You know, I don't know that I would agree. I think he's certainly up there.
Okay, 71,000 yards he's thrown for, which is, in my it's almost, 30 miles, 40 miles?
It's crazy.
30, 35 miles that he's thrown football. Mm-hmm. That's even more than the Billy Joes from the Saints.
Yeah, right. Put together. Right.
Which is good. It seems like Drew's going to be around for another couple of years, hopefully, and so we won't have to get any Billy Joes.
And speaking of which, I was listening to the news the other day, and they were talking about how Sean Payton is looking to extend for 5 years. I was expecting that he would kind of end his tenure pretty close to when the Saints, maybe he plans to work for another 10 years. I don't know, but parallel with Drew.
I think he made a decision. Mm-hmm. He sat down and said, "Do I want to live somewhere else, or do I want to stay here?" And apparently, he wants to stay here.
Let me shop my wares and see if anybody else wants to pay me $8 million a year, and if not, then I'll stay in New Orleans.
If he's going 5, well, the other reason he would do 5 years is because he anticipates a transition period after Drew Brees. Mm-hmm. And wants to be able to have the length on the contract to make that transition where, a lot of times you can make short-term decisions that are good for short-term, bad long-term, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And that if he made that transition, he could have the sufficient time to rebuild the team into a new image when Drew goes.
But if they're talking about 3 years for Drew,
right.
You're talking three of Peyton's 5.
Right.
So, I don't know how much time that gives you to rebuild if Drew's there for 3 more years and retires and then
Tony Romo sat for 4 years.
Yeah.
And so I really think for a quarterback, I think a lot of quarterbacks get ruined coming in their first and second year. And there's so much pressure, especially if they're a high pick. But I think ideally you'd want to have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who marinates for 4 years, just sort of takes it in and learns by osmosis, by sitting and watching, getting in some time, and then, when he's third, fourth, fifth year, he can come in and hit the door running.
Very few of them can I mean, Andrew Luck's kind of an exception. You got a few guys that are exceptions, but very few.
I mean, a lot of
can
quarterbacks
step in and just really.
Dante Culpepper,
Yeah.
Freeman from Tampa, the first round pick. They all got ruined because I think they were just thrown in there and it wasn't ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
And you couldn't sit them. I mean, if you're going to pick them in the first 3 picks,
Yeah.
you can't say we're going to sit them for 3 years.
Right. Right.
So, in fact, that's why I think some of these lower round picks and quarterbacks do better because there's not the pressure to put them out in the field the first year.
Yeah.
And they let them sit and play and just sort of take
There's
everything
just so
in.
much to adjust to. It's I mean, it's extremely complicated.
Well, I think
you've got to have the head for it, and then it's also the game is that much faster.
And well, one thing's going to be interesting. I think about 10 to 15 years ago, there was a move, even with Aaron Brooks when he was here, to get athletic quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 things happen with athletic quarterbacks. Is one, they get beat up, and number 2, they start dealing with your tendencies as far as your athletic tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like now they're going back to more cerebral type quarterbacks. Now the question for Cam Newton is, he really got beat up in the Super Bowl. And I think Denver and Wade Phillips figured him out.
You know what I think Denver didn't do? They didn't put a spy on him. Some of these other teams put a spy on him, and so they were not able to double cover. They were not able to play certain zones that they wanted to play, and I think it kind of messed up the defense. Whereas they just play defense, and you know and some of the guys you see that Cam Newton's the kind of guy that can beat you with his arm. You know, a lot of these athletic quarterbacks can run, and they're not great passers. So if you let him sit back there and you just kind of bounce around to contain him in the pocket, he's going to eat you up with his arm. So that was the dilemma. So I think they just played defense on him, and he's going to get a run or two and beat you every once in a while with his feet. But for the most part, let's just do what we do.
Well, Cam Newton's weakness is throwing up the middle, down the field.
Mm-hmm.
He has a tendency to throw it up,
To let it float a little bit.
let it float, and get the interceptions. But it'll be interesting to see. He was really beat up this year, and hence
you can't do that and have a long career.
right. And so you can go get in there, have 3 or 4 years, but longevity wise, it's just going to eat you up.
And you're not like a running back. A lot of times you're standing back in that pocket. You don't see it coming, so you can't brace yourself. You're not. You have no momentum going in the direction of the hit. So the hits are a lot harder.
You can't administer the hit.
Well, yeah, or deflect it, or prepare for it, or duck, or it's a anyway.
So how we got started on this on Peyton Manning.
Oh, speaking of bad contracts, I was listening to the I think it was WWL News on
Bobby and Deep.
No, it was on television, and they were saying how the contract that was determined to be the worst contract in the NBA.
Oh, was it Omar?
Amir Asik, the worst contract ever. I mean, not this year in the NBA. That he's got like 5 rebounds a game, 2 points a game, and he's just and they're paying him like $15 million a year.
Right.
And he's just, he's not a good defender. Still blown away by it.
They're struggling, really, really struggling this year.
They're struggling. They made some bad
injuries.
decisions, and they have some core players. They're a couple of players away from being really good. But I mean, again, I think they've made some bad decisions from a financial standpoint. Keeping Cole and not keeping Ish Smith, who's the same kind of player, but 8 years younger.
Good. Yeah, Cole's good though.
Cole thinks he's a scorer.
But he's
he's not. But he'll come down and just shoot shots way too early in the shot clock. He'll make them sometimes, but miss them more often than not. And
I think what happened was Monty Williams had built the team to be a half-court team.
That's for sure.
And strong and better defense.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Coach Gentry come in and said, we're a 94-foot team, baseline to baseline. Right. But they still had players for that half-court, Tariq Evans.
Right.
And so
Well, you have Tariq, you have Osik, you have Ajinça, you have these guys that are just
they're half court.
Yeah, they're not speedsters getting up and down the court.
So I think they're struggling on whether they're trying to fit a system with players that doesn't fit the system, or are they going to have to weed those players out and get players who can fit that system?
Right.
And it just hadn't worked. And so we're a lost show, though, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
So I tell you what, let's take a break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nico, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. We'll be right back with callers right after this brief timeout.